Hey my friend, it's James here from Awaken Therapy. So I want to talk with you in a bit more length today about triggering. It's such an important issue, so many people ask me about it, and it has a lot of different interpretations and meanings. But I want to take you through it in a bit more depth today, just so you've got a really clear handle on what's going on, what the process is, and I'll give you some tips on how to deal with it too. So, as you probably know, I've talked about this before, but triggering or activation is a process where our psyche brings something up for healing. So memories, thoughts, emotion, it's stored in the body, it's stored as chemicals in the cell receptors, it's stored there in our being until we're ready to deal with it. So this is life experiences that have been too hard to process, and so we've built up a stuckness, as an accumulation. Think of it as emotion, which is feeling energy that hasn't been felt, so it's stored as emotion. There's a chemical component to this, so it is a literal physical element, and of course it's there in our mind. Think of something that we ruminate on a lot, some issue we can't get out of our mind. It might be some experience that just keeps replaying in our mind, some event or just some experience we just can't let go of, we're just so stuck on it. Well, that's the psyche trying to process it, but we're bogged. And if we're just thinking about something in our mind, let's say we're just using our intellect, we're thinking about that situation, but we're not using the other wheels of the four-wheel drive, if we're not getting any feeling traction, if we're not getting in touch with the emotion of it in a productive way, if we're not moving it out of the body, if we're not drinking water and doing movement practice to shift those chemicals out of the body, if we're not understanding it with some spiritual perspective, with some soul level perspective, and we're maybe stuck in a human, more victim-y story around it, well, we're not going to be getting enough traction. And we know what it's like when we get stuck in these things. I mean, it's been interesting, this this bloody cough I've been stuck with. I've been working with Lucy on the emotion body code work and getting to some really interesting old belief that has been sitting behind it. So there's a blessing, there's a healing process even behind these physical symptoms. It's emotion that comes up. That's probably the one we're most aware of, is when we get triggered and something just really makes us suddenly feel maybe really flat and depressed, or something suddenly makes us feel really enraged and furious. You know, those examples of triggering are probably the clearest. I always think of road rage as a very obvious, dramatic example of someone being triggered, because in the car you can't really see the other person, and so the psyche can project whatever story onto that person hidden in their car. And let's say something happens, they don't wave, they cut us off, they don't, and they're triggering this reaction in us, and it's easy to project it onto that kind of blank canvas of a car. And this is where we can see a very dramatic example of people being triggered and reacting totally out of proportion to the situations. And of course this can be very destructive, so understanding triggering and knowing how to deal with it is critical. So we're including all the aspects of you in this picture: your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, as well as your heart, your feelings, your emotion that's there, the body, the physicality, and of course surrounding all that is the soul. We want to eventually get into soul purposes around certain experiences that we've had. I unpack that a lot in my book, Trauma Survivor to Soul Warrior. So this is understanding what the process is. Stuck energy, difficult experience, being triggered by something that reminds us of it. It can be an experience, something someone says, just something that happens. It can be a smell, it can be a song on the radio. It can be quite small things that our inner wisdom grabs and uses as an opportunity to bring up something deeper for healing. Now, when that stuff comes up, by definition, it's difficult material, it's difficult emotion, difficult memory. And so the first thing is to recognize that, oh, okay, I'm triggered. This is not about now. Now might be 5%, might be 10%, might maximum be maybe 20% of the reality going on. But all that extra reaction, that's come from inside. And a lot of people aren't very good at reflecting or catching that inner awareness, and so they'll just blame the person. They'll just react more, aggressively to, what the trigger is. And we all do a bit of that because when we're in that subconscious place, we're projecting that story. So in that moment, we're not seeing the other person. We're seeing someone else overlaid on that person, and so we're very determined to blame them and attack them or whatever, because they're the cause. This is what projection is. We're seeing in someone else what's really in ourselves. And so to understand that, okay, this is coming from me, this is not really cause. They might be a small cause of my upset in this moment, but this is something bigger, this reaction's out of proportion. Recognizing that is the first thing. And then we have a chance to catch it. Then we have a chance to stop, to breathe, to get grounded, to excuse ourselves. Often the best thing to do is that. Absolutely. Some couples have code words for that, or just even the hand gesture, time out, just to, if we're really triggered, the worst thing we can do is try to talk about it or fix it. If we're still in it, we're too close to it to fix it. And the worst thing our partner can do would be to try to get, resolution out of us in that moment. So the second step, once we've recognised it, is to give ourselves the grace of some space, some room, some time, just to come to grips with it. Things that can help, I've certainly found, if I'm really triggered, if it's really strong, movement is really good. Going for a walk, getting out of the house. This is a bit dramatic, but sometimes the difference between homicide and not would be someone walking around the block for 10 minutes. It can make that much of a difference, because in the moment, if we're reacting, well, we're not in our right mind, we're in a form of insanity. But if we've got the wherewithal to recognise that, okay, I'm triggered, this is mine, I can't blame this on the person, I want to throttle them right now, but can't blame them for this. If we're able to take that responsibility through that self-awareness, then we can give ourselves what we need, out of love for ourselves, just being kind, just being graceful with self. Get out of the house, go for a walk, do some movement, make some sound, give yourself some privacy, give yourself some room to actually shift some of this energy that's coming up. Good to have a glass of water in there somewhere. But in that space, it's time to start to grapple with what's coming up, rather than falling into the trap of really seeing it externally and either, it's standard in those moments, if it's really extreme, to want to kill someone else or to kill ourselves. That's how dramatic, how dangerous it can be. And of course, these terrible things that people choose come from not sitting with what's coming up. It's an attempt to avoid, it's an attempt to escape. It's like an acting out of these emotions rather than dealing with them. So we need to deal with them. So we recognise what's happened, and we give ourselves some space, get some distance, just create some space there. And it's good when two people in a relationship say, because we often get triggered in relationship, it's the person we tend to live with, so it tends to be where we're more likely to get triggered. If both people understand what's going on, then it can be easier to say, I'm just really triggered right now, I just need some space. Fine, honey, I'm here for you. If there isn't that understanding, Often people get very triggered themselves when the partner's triggered, and then they're going to want to try to find where the boundary is and get some resolution in the middle of that charge. And of course, following someone around the house trying to get resolution when they're triggered is the worst thing to do. Worst thing to do. It's pushing them into more activation, and but there's often this chain reaction that happens in relationship. So the second person gets triggered as well, and often we're looking for resolution. We're trying to find where the boundary is, and this is why partners can often push and push and push and nag, and follow someone around, or pressure and pressure, to try to find where's the bottom of this, where's the end of this, and of course that sort of behaviour just escalates the whole issue. Now that's very simple, and obviously that's not applied to any specific situation. I'm just talking very generally, but makes a point. You get the gist of it. I'm sure you understand. So taking that space and then doing some movement, drinking some water. If it's really charged, it can be very hard to just stop and sit and be present to it. So often some movement is the best thing. Going for a walk. If you're lucky enough to live near the beach or something, go for a swim. Just, move some energy. It can be simple. It can be just doing some shaking for a few minutes, or, just do some exercise or some movement. That can make a huge difference, because you're shifting some of that chemistry, some of those molecules of the emotion that's stored there. And then we get to the really productive aspects of it, and that is asking ourselves, okay, what does this remind me of? What just happened? What's this go back to? What's this about? This energy that's come up, this emotion, this memory, this belief, this reaction, this physicality. Oh my God, what's this about? And we trace it back. Sometimes I still get triggered around male bullying is a big trigger for me, because it takes me back to my childhood with my father, and whatever layers are still rattling around in me. I might be seeing something in a movie, or occasionally even out and about in the world. I can tell you that pushes my buttons, because it reminds me, and that energy there. There's a lot of anger I obviously couldn't express as a child. Wasn't big enough to punch his nose, so that gets stored in the system. So it's a pretty no-brainer for me. I can join the dots pretty quickly on that one, and then it turns into therapy. Then it becomes a therapy session, because when you ask yourself, my favourite question, what's this remind me of? Very useful question, because what we're doing in that is we're reflecting inward. We're not looking out there, that person should have done this, or they shouldn't have done that, and blame, and that just keeps us in that powerless victim stance. No, we're going inward. We're going vertical dimension. We're going self-reflection, and we know it's ours because our triggering is out of proportion to the external event. That's the telltale sign of it. What's this about? What's this go back to? What's this remind me of? And you're the expert on you. You know you better than anyone else. And sure, we all need help at times in terms of doing our inner work and processing. We all need that from different people. But if you're watching this, you're probably already quite skilled up at that reflective process. You probably already have a good capacity to stop. And then maybe you're reflecting on it. A lot of people like to write it down, just jot down. It doesn't have to be in your best journal. It could be just on a scrap of paper. And, this sort of writing, it might be something that's very private. You throw it out or you burn it eventually. But getting it on paper, sometimes it's good just to stop and be still. Yep, you've moved, you've shifted a bit, or it's, and settled, just taken the edge off it. Then you just sit, be still, breathe, drop in. What's this remind me of? And It's one of those things that gets easier with practice, of course, but I've certainly found for myself and with my clients that sooner or later, usually a bit sooner, something comes up, a memory, a picture, flash, feeling. Yeah, it's there. It's like the key. It's like the clue that our psyche wants us to get, to know, to understand. Because once we join a mental understanding with the emotional physicality, the charge of it, um, it starts to shift, it starts to heal. If we're just in the emotion without any understanding, well, we'll let off some steam, but it won't heal it at the cause. So it'll be there to, the next flashpoint, and that'll come up again. If we just understand something intellectually, that's not enough. And that's the problem with a lot of psychology. It's more just like talking about it and having like a cognitive understanding. There's not a connection to the emotion. And so that kind of approach, while it's very necessary on its own, has a limit to its benefit as well. But when we've got both going, when we can connect the two, then it's like we know enough. It's like we're in the right place in our awareness. We're feeling the feelings that haven't been felt, and that's enough. Like the tumbler's falling into place, and the lock turns and opens, and all this material can start to. My favourite word for this is transmute, which is a change in state of that energy. It transmutes back to light. Always a wonderful feeling, a lightness, an ease that always comes out of that. Lightness is the word people usually report on the other side of a transmutation process. So today we're talking about triggering, and triggering is usually a strong emotional reaction. Behaviourally, it can lead to defensive attack outward. It can lead to a sort of more withdrawing collapse inward. It can lead to dissociation, fight, flight, freeze, please. These sort of behaviours can come out of it. But the memory that's underneath it, it certainly can come up in flashback and come up in pictures, images, words that can come up. Yeah. But if you think of it as, okay, this is stuck energy in my body, mind, needs to be healed. Something's brought it to the surface. My defences have been breached. My maybe conscious defences that might be able to normally keep that stuff suppressed are breached, and so it comes into our awareness. Oh, and in a split second, we've gone from whatever state we were in to, it could be the strongest anger, it could be the worst, blackest despair, and this is that instant process that happens. Look, I hope you find this really helpful. As always, Awaken Therapy is here to help you in your healing journey and your spiritual journey, which is one and the same thing. We're healing into our spiritual remembering. Stacks of stuff on the website, articles, videos. Please comment, like, subscribe, share. It all helps me know what's being useful for you. And good luck with the next time you get triggered, because it happens to all of us sooner or later. I hope you find this is helpful in handling the next experience.